Good morning, everyone. Happy Saturday. Welcome to the special Saturday stream for October the 8th, 2022. Today we're going to be discussing basic personal finance for content creators specifically, but this advice is probably applicable to everyone unless you're like super rich, in which case you've got a guy for that, so it doesn't really matter. So we'll just go ahead and get started. If you're watching the VOD or watching on YouTube, if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments below. I guess not on the VOD on Twitch, but you know, go to YouTube. It'll be there. And if you're in the chat, feel free to type out your questions in the chat. I will get to them as I have time. So here we go. So what are we talking about today? First, who am I? Why should you listen to this guy on the internet tell you about personal finance? Then I'm gonna tell you what personal finance is. We're gonna talk about earning as a content creator, specifically earning money. Then the idea of going full-time, growing your business, and then saving and investing. So who am I? I'm StartShort0. I am an accountant and financial planner. I also stream on Twitch. And then I post the VODs to YouTube, so I guess I'm technically a YouTuber, although that's not really the focus of my content. So I guess we'll start. Oh, limitations and caveats, right. I put this slide on here, very important. So I am not going to couch any part of this presentation as hashtag not financial advice. Anybody who does that is probably trying to sell you something. So do not listen to those people. This is hashtag financial advice. I'm going over some extremely basic finance topics that are sadly rarely taught to most people. I hear so many people lament that, oh, why didn't we learn this in school? Why did we learn how to write checks and not learn how to actually manage our finances? And that's what we're going to be talking about today. So I will not be going over any individual assets. You won't be getting any hot stock tips, NFT recommendations, crypto, any of that stuff. If you're here for that, go somewhere else. Although I would suggest that you don't do that actually, and you stay here and you actually learn something about personal finance. We'll be discussing general principles today. However, my experience is limited specifically to the United States. So I can only speak to the laws of the US and all of the things that come along with that. But most of this is going to be applicable to anybody in any country where there is a functioning economy. So anybody who's watching this. Many countries have different rules for things like reporting income, setting up retirement accounts, and investing. And I can't cover all of them, unfortunately. Finally, this presentation will not teach you how to become popular, how to grow on your platform of choice. There are plenty of people out there who claim to have the answer for that. Some of them will even charge you money. So if you want that kind of advice, you're going to have to go elsewhere. I cannot help you. All right. First section. What is personal finance? Seems like a simple question. It is your personal finances, but let's break it down a little bit. So when most people think of personal finance, they tend to think about money. And money is a large part of it. Earning, spending, saving, and investing are the core pillars of personal finance. Those are all some pretty straightforward words, but we're going to make this as basic as I possibly can. Earning refers to any money that you make. So anything you get from your job. If you have a garage sale and you sell some stuff, you get some money from that. Your parents send you money, you get money from the government. That all goes into a big pile that we're going to call earning. That's money coming to you. Spending is money that is coming from you going to someone else. Every time you pay your rent, every time you go to the grocery store and you buy groceries, every time you buy a game on Steam, those are all spending events. Saving is the money that is left over after you have subtracted your spending from your earning. So you get money from work, you buy a game on Steam, you pay your rent, you got $10 left over. That's saving. Even if it's just sitting in a checking account somewhere, that is part of your savings as a whole. And then finally, we have investing, which together with your savings forms sort of your reserve of money that you have set aside. Investing is, I like to call it advanced saving. Basically, you take the money that would otherwise just be sitting in an account somewhere, you put it towards something that is going to increase in value, so your money is generating more money, hopefully. So, does anybody have any questions about any of these? It's, again, very straightforward, very easy words. You can look this up in the dictionary. It'll tell you exactly what it all means. But it's important to start with the basics. Then this, in my personal opinion, is the most important part of personal finance, and that is the personal part. There is no one-size-fits-all solution to your personal finances. They are unique to you and your situation. So when you're looking at your finances, you need to identify your wants and needs. Some people pay rent. Some people live with their parents. Some people have a sugar daddy, whatever. Some people live in a big house. Some people live in a tiny apartment. Your rent, your housing situation, that's going to be different. What kind of groceries you buy, that's going to be different. If you have special dietary concerns, that's going to change the way that you need to budget your money. We won't be talking too much about budgeting because I know people don't like that, but it is kind of an important part. Then you need to determine your capabilities. What level of education do you have? What kind of jobs can you get? Where do you live? And what opportunities are there that are available for you? That's going to be unique to you. You can't necessarily directly compare yourself to someone else. So you need to look and actually identify what you can do. Finally, there are the, or not finally, the penultimate thing on this slide, obligations to friends and family. So you might have kids, you might have an ex-wife or something like that. You might have to support your parents. You might have friends that are like always throwing their money around and you get to eat for free a lot of the time. These are things that you need to look at, again, as an individual. What sort of obligations do you have as a parent, as a husband or wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, as a child, grandchild, whatever? Those are things you need to also be looking at. And then finally, relying on a support network. So when you were born, presumably you had parents that raised you, or somebody raised you. You didn't grow up in a jungle being raised by wolves, and even then you're being raised by wolves, so you still have a support network of some kind. This is sort of the ultimate fallback mechanic. If you lost your house tomorrow, if you lost your job tomorrow, and you ran out of resources to support yourself, where would you go? This is, again, going to be unique to everyone. If you are no contact with your parents, for example, that's not going to help. If you have a really good friend who is willing to support you, if your girlfriend is willing to let you work on a video game for 2.5 years and then release it and you become a millionaire, that is, again, another instance of having a support network on which you can rely. And this is not a guaranteed thing. Not everybody has rich friends. Not everybody has parents. Not everybody has a rich uncle. These are the kind of things you need to be looking at. And it's going to be very important when we get to the specific section on content creation and ways in which you can sort of use that support network as you ramp up to become full-time, possibly. All right, on to the next slide. So the first thing that we need to look at on the personal finance side is going to be managing your income and expenses. So the money you make can come from many different sources, but for most people, it primarily comes from their job. Self-employment income is similar in that it is a job, it's just nobody else is paying you, you're getting money directly from customers or clients. So when your employer pays you in a traditional job, they handle the tax withholdings and report that income to the IRS, which is the US tax service. With self-employment income, this is a very important distinction because this is, again, going to go into the content creation portion of this presentation. You have to handle all the tax stuff yourself. So that means you have to have withholdings. You typically are going to have to pay quarterly estimate taxes, depending on how much you're actually making. If you're making enough to sustain yourself, then yeah, you're going to want to do that. So any income made through content creation is considered self-employment income, basically. You're going to have to report that. Then you have investments, which can pay you in the form of dividends, interest payments, or capital gains, which is the profit that you make from selling an asset that is increased in value. And then other income, again, that can be anything else. Getting money from government programs, getting gifts from your parents or grandparents or someone else, and inheritance, which is sort of like getting a gift, just usually much larger. So those are the sources of income you can kind of look at as a amalgamation of things that you can get. And that all goes into your big income pot. And then for expenses, I went ahead and looked up what the largest expenses were, at least in the US. And those are going to be housing, transportation, utilities, groceries, insurance, and healthcare. So some sad American noises here. Healthcare is extremely expensive. Insurance doesn't cover much. I mean, it depends, but it's going to be expensive either way, even if you have insurance. It's a little ridiculous, honestly. But those are sort of going to be your big heavy hitters and things that you need to watch out for. And again, this is going to be personal to you. If you live in a tiny studio apartment in a Midwestern town, you pay like $600 a month. You live in Midtown Manhattan, you pay $3,200 and you have 6 roommates or whatever. That's going to be different. Transportation, most people in America are going to have a car. But if you live in a big city that has good public transportation, you've got buses, you've got subways, trains, that kind of stuff. And if you don't have a car and you live in a big city that doesn't have good public transportation, you're going to be relying on Uber, Lyft, taxis, rides from friends, that kind of thing. Of course, utilities, that's going to be electricity, internet, important things for content creation, but then also your water, your heating, air conditioning. Groceries, when I say groceries, I don't just mean food, but I also typically include like stuff to use in the bathroom, normal house supplies like cleaning, that kind of stuff. What you'll notice is not on here is entertainment. That could probably be on here, depending on how much you tend to spend monthly on entertainment. Like if you've got a cable subscription, you go out to eat a lot, you go to concerts, you buy lots of video games or magic cards, whatever. That's all going to fall into the big entertainment umbrella. And that varies so much from person to person, how much you have to spend on entertainment. And then insurance and healthcare. Insurance, that's like your car insurance, your renter's insurance, or home insurance. If you live in other places, you might have something like flood insurance. Just general insurance. You might have life insurance. There's all kinds of different insurances you can get. We're not going to go super deep into insurance. That's a whole semester long class that we could talk about. It gets a little ridiculous. And then, of course, again, sad American noises for healthcare. That's going to be a major expense for some people, especially if you have something that requires ongoing treatment. Let's head to the next slide and see what we got here. So the first thing I tell anyone who comes to me for financial advice is to track your spending. Now, it's important to note this is not a budget. You are not coming up with how much money you think you want to spend on things and then sticking to that. This is very passive. You spend money like you normally would, and then if you have a online banking website you can typically export those to like an Excel file or whatever, or you can just go through the big list of everything you spent. So you do that for a month, and then at the end of the month you go look at all those transactions, you break them into categories, and then you sort of put them into little buckets of what you spent everything on. So like we said in the last slide, housing, transportation, utilities, groceries, insurance, healthcare, you throw every transaction into some kind of bucket, and then that you've tracked your spending. You've seen how much you spend on all of those different categories, and you can think to yourself, is this reasonable for my situation? And some important things about this is if you had a large purchase, if you bought a car in a month, if you bought a new computer in a month, you're not going to say, okay, well, every month I spend $1,200 on a new PC. Like, no, you want to spread that out over how long you think that's going to last. In accounting, we would call this the matching principle, but that's not super important to you guys right now. The idea is you want to match the expense to the time period in which it was done. McMathy says, damn, that's an early stream for me. It's Saturday, so you guys get a morning stream. It's nice because then the Europeans get to join if they want. And hey, welcome in. We're just talking about tracking your spending. And then finally, and this is probably the reason that you would want to do this, is you get to find your pain points. Find where in your spending you're like, oh, did I really spend $600 on eating out this month? Oh, I don't even remember. And then you can start planning. All right, how do I cut my spending on eating out? Do I need to start cooking more food at home? Do I need to go to cheaper restaurants? Again, this is all going to be personal to you, what you have access to. I don't recommend like a meal kit. I know all the big people are like, oh, this video is brought to you by Food Bomber. They'll deliver food to your house via decommissioned military drones. It's super cool. No, those are overpriced and they don't even give you food for the whole month. So learn how to shop at a grocery store or whatever's around you. Learn how to at least cook a little bit, and you can save a lot of money on groceries. All right, now we go to the fun part, earning as a content creator. This is the part that everybody wants to hear about, right? You're like, I'm going to be Ninja, I'm going to be XQC, I'm going to make millions of dollars. The truth is probably not, but you can still make a little bit of money, and you need to be able to handle that. So the first step is understanding your platform or platforms. So if you stream on Twitch, you become an affiliate, you become a partner, you make money from ads, you can get money from bits, subscribers, all kinds of ways you can get money out of that. YouTube, that also has the partner program where they show ads and you get a portion of that revenue. Instagram also has ads, TikTok has ads. These are just some of the ways. This is not an exhaustive list, but just some of the ones that I'm more familiar with. And that's how you get the money from the platform directly. Then you have things like sponsorships. So someone will reach out to you and they'll say, hey, we are X company, or we represent X company, and we would like to pay you to advertise our product, our service on your piece of content. Important, we'll talk about this a little more in depth later, but it's very important that you sort of make sure the sponsorship offer is legit. And we'll talk about avoiding scams also a little bit later. And then you need to follow their rules. So sponsors are going to have rules like, we need you to say X, we need you to play this game for X amount of time, we need you to send in the analytics of your stream, whatever. Just make sure you understand the rules and that you follow them. Then on to direct contributions. So this is going to be platform specific, but this is basically a way for people to give you money directly, with probably some kind of cut going to a different platform. So you've got stuff like Patreon. They can give you money every month, and then you split that with Patreon. Twitch, YouTube, they've got the subscriber and the channel member, I believe it's called. And then tips and donations, people can send you money on coffee. Twitch has bits, which are kind of a similar situation. YouTube has super chats. Every platform is a little bit different, so you need to kind of understand the specifics. And then merchandise. I'm sure you guys have seen somebody selling t-shirts, somebody selling plushies, somebody selling pins. These are all different examples of merchandise that you can sell, and you get a portion of that as profit. And it's going to, of course, depend who's designing it, where you're selling it, what it is, how much it costs to ship it. That's all going to vary. And then the least favorite part of everyone's discussion of all time is taxes in the US. If you are making any money from any of these things, that is reportable as taxable income. We're not, again, I can't go super in depth on taxes. That's another semester or two or an entire like major of learning. But it is important to understand what taxes affect you as a content creator and make sure that you are reporting them correctly. Because as you get bigger and it starts becoming a bigger issue, there is like, the IRS will figure it out probably. If not, okay, great, you got away with it. But hey, how about just play by the rules, all right? Let's not make it more complicated than it has to be. So advertisements are the biggest source of revenue on some platforms. YouTube. Everybody who is on YouTube who makes the big bucks, it's all about ads. And then probably also sponsorships, but we'll get to that next. That is, of course, going to be limited by how many views or clicks you were getting on your channel. So if you have more people watching on Twitch, you get more money from ads. More people click on your YouTube video, more money from ads. Ads are intrusive. People do not like them. They detract from the content. They'll show up at the most inopportune times. You'll miss the play of the game because somebody decided that running automatic ads at random times is a good idea. And then, of course, ad blockers exist. So if the person does not see the ad, I don't know what the technical part of that is. Like, does the website that you're posting your content on, can they see that ad blocking is going on? I don't know. That's a question for an IT guy. But just be aware that that might interfere with the actual revenue generated by advertisements. So, sponsorships. I don't know a whole lot about this because I don't do sponsors. I don't do sponsorships. But from what I do know, they will contact you first of all. If you're contacting people to get sponsored, I mean, maybe it'll work. I don't know. But if the sponsor is contacting you, they represent an actual company that you can verify. You know, Raycon will sponsor whoever. Raid, Shadow Legends, you might have seen. All the food crate things. Do they still do loot crates? That's probably gone by the wayside at this point. And then other mobile game ads, stuff like that. They will reach out to you. Typically, they're going to go through a marketing company. They'll say, hey, marketing company, generate X amount of whatever for us. And then the marketing company will go out. They'll look at streamers. They'll look at YouTubers. They'll reach out. They'll say, hey, can you do this for us? And we'll give you such and such money, whatever. So they're going to send you a contract. They're going to send you a list of rules to follow. And very important, especially in the US, you have to let people know that a certain part of your video or your entire video or that you are being sponsored. You can't just be like, oh, have you guys heard of this new product? Like, no, you're being paid by them. You have to say, okay, this part of the video is sponsored by XYZ. Hey, possibly an alien's here. Good, we just got to the juicy part about sponsorships. I hope you're ready. The sponsorship is coming at you. And so let your audience know. Otherwise, you're a scumbag. And also, it could be illegal. All right, direct contributions. This is a sort of a catch-all term that I use for money that comes directly from your viewers or from people who support you. McMatthew wants financial advice. Well, you picked a good day to request that. Today's financial advice, we're going to talk about getting direct contributions via content creation. So Patreon patrons, Twitch subscribers, YouTube channel members are often your most loyal audience members. This is the core of the people who like you, who want to watch you, who want to support you, and will tend to stick with you for the long haul. So these are reliable sources of income. I don't want to boil it down to, oh, this guy he watches your stuff, he supports you on Patreon, he's a reliable source of income. Like, no, he likes what you're doing and is supporting you. Don't look at it like a number. There are other things like donations through a service like Coffee or bits on Twitch, and that can be a lot more swingy. Like, you might have some dude come in and donate 100 subs 1 month and then never see him again. That is more unpredictable. So you can kind of contrast your direct contributions via sort of like monthly recurring things. You can look at that. That is your base. Then you have the swing of, okay, you know, I got 0 gift subs this month. I got 100 gift subs this month. Not really something you can rely on. Also, while it is important to note that while people often refer to these as donations, you are not a charity. These count as taxable income. It is a donation in the sense that they are paying you for entertainment value. It's not like a charitable donation. It's more of a tip. And often it'll be called a tip. And then you have like weird features. I put elevated chat here because that's kind of, it was unique to YouTube, and then Twitch implemented like a version of it that really sucks, but we're not going to super get into that. So every service is going to have like a weird gimmick way that you can support. Just something else to keep in mind. Merchandise. So merchandise is anything you sell that is sort of associated with your channel, with your brand, whatever you want to call it. And there are 2 steps to this. You design the merch, then you sell the merch. So for designing merch, if you're an artist, if you are a graphic designer, I guess kind of an artist, you can make your own art, or you can have someone else design the art for you. It could be a t-shirt, it could be a plushie, it could be pins. We talked about this earlier. And then you have to sell the merch. So if you're making it at home on your own, you're like, I will draw you a picture with my character in it doing like a funny pose, and then you sell that, or you send that to somebody. That's a type of a way you can sell merchandise. When you scale it up a bit, you've got places that'll sell a t-shirt with a print on it. And then you have, okay, this is a company that makes plushies. We're going to do a run of 200,000. I mean, that's probably a lot, way too many, but just an example. We're going to sell 200,000 plushies, and that's it. So you've partnered with this plushie manufacturer, and then they're going to ship those out to people. And the more you get involved with other companies, that's going to cut into your portion, but it also makes the whole process go a little more smoothly. So just some things to keep in mind. You might not even be at this stage yet or ever, but these are other ways you can make money. Possibly, and he says, I really should make actual merch. Yeah, you could. You just, again, you have to design it. You have to make sure it kind of goes with whatever your brand is or whatever, and then sell it. Taxes. Again, this is going to come up a lot during this presentation because I feel very strongly about this. In the United States, nearly all income is required to be reported, and that includes money that you make from content creation. If you make over $600, as an example, Twitch will send you I don't remember the exact form. Is it 1090? Anyway, they'll send you a form, I think probably an electronic copy, that'll have a list of your revenue on the platform. And that needs to go on your tax return. So do not make the mistake of not filing your taxes. I'm sure somebody has heard of somebody that hasn't filed their taxes in 6 years, 10 years, 20 years, their whole life. And now they're in a position where, oh crap, my income is now actually being reported to the IRS, and now the IRS wants me to file or they're going to come get my ass. Like, just do it. Just get it over with. If you can't handle it on your own, it's really easy, especially if you're not making a lot of money. But if you feel like you're in a super complex position, you haven't paid taxes in such and such years, find a local accountant who can assist you. And I'm not just saying that because I am an accountant. I'm not actually that kind of accountant, but that's besides the point. Find someone who can assist you. Don't go to H&R Block. Don't go to one of those like, okay, we gave you 2 weeks of training, now you're an accountant. Go to an actual CPA in your local area that you can talk to, and they will be able to help. I know taxes make everybody cry, but listen, it helps make the country a better place, even though it doesn't feel like that sometimes. And now the potential pitfalls. I didn't really have another place to put these, but I did get a lot of feedback on this when I reached out to content creators. These are just some ways that you might fall into a trap as a creator. And of course, the big one, overspending on equipment. You're like, I'm going to be a streamer. I'm going to buy a TV quality video camera. I'm going to get lighting. I'm going to get a microphone. I'm going to get a new PC that's just for streaming. Like, how about you start streaming with what you've got first and then work your way up from there? Going into high interest debt, this sort of goes hand in hand with the overspending. If you don't have the money, you don't have the war chest set aside to buy a bunch of new equipment for your content creation career, then you're going to end up going into debt. And typically that's going to mean buying things with a credit card, and that's going to mean paying a lot of interest. And hey, Discount Engineer is here because I'm streaming at a reasonable time. Welcome. I'm glad you were able to make it because you are also a content creator. You might find this useful. Another thing, quitting your day job early. If you have a regular job where you make decent money, or at least enough to support you, and you start seeing revenue from your content, you might feel a lot of pressure on yourself to quit your day job and go full time with content creation. And that can easily backfire. It can cause a bunch of headaches. And without the support network, basically, you're going to fail. You're going to run out of money. You're not going to be able to afford to continue doing the content creation thing. And that's going to hurt you in the long run. And Discount Engineer making a great point. Using your phone as a webcam is a thing to get started. And that is actually what I do on Twitch. I guess I've just been lazy and haven't been looking for a camera. But I just use my phone as a webcam. And it works well enough, at least. And then probably the biggest, and I see this from a lot of people, is thinking that content creation will save you from a bad situation. It's like, oh, I am poor. I'm a single mother. I have no education. I have no other opportunities. The only thing I can do is become a Twitch streamer or a YouTuber or an Instagram model, whatever. And the unfortunate fact is it probably will not. If you are in a position where you think this is your only option, this is your only way out of whatever situation you found yourself in, I suggest you look elsewhere. McMatthew says PayPal is trending with almost 100,000 tweets. It says new PayPal policy lets company pull $2,500 from user accounts if they promote misinformation. Oh, well, guys, I mean, PayPal's been sort of on the downslide for a while. I would probably just pull all your money out if you have any in there. So let's go on. Well, let's put all this nonsense behind us. Let's go to the fun part, chat. Let's talk about the dream of every content creator, and that is doing it full time. So let's look at some things to consider. First, the bad. There is unpredictable income, which, like I mentioned earlier, some months are going to be better than others. Some months are going to be worse than others. You lose your work benefits. So especially in the US, that's your health insurance. That's your life insurance. Probably that is access to a work-sponsored retirement account. And then some other benefits like a steady paycheck, which is, I guess, part of your unpredictable income situation. And there was one more that now I'm blanking on. It's fine. We'll come back to it if I think of it. And I consider this a con, honestly, but it's also a pro, is being your own boss. So think of all the bosses you've ever had. Did you like your boss? And now you want to become your own boss? You're going to either have to be really hard on yourself, or you're not going to be as productive as you think you are. Unless you're like super disciplined, and then congratulations. Pros: more time to create. You no longer have your regular job to worry about. You can spend all day doing art, streaming, making videos, editing, whatever it is that you do. There's better scheduling. You can work all night if that is more convenient for you. You can, spend an hour working and then an hour goofing off, an hour working, whatever. There's no set schedule. You can set it up however you want, and you're your own boss. So if you want to call it early for the day, whatever, you're done. You're done working. But again, goes back to that's your downside. I'm done working. When am I going to work again? I don't know. Got to kick my own butt. So this is sort of a from best case scenario to worst case scenario of when to go full time. If you are making 1.5 to 2 times your current income through content creation. So if you're working full time or part time or whatever, and you're doing content creation on the side, if you are able to make from 1.5 to 2 times your work income, depending on how much you're already making, and that is going to be enough to cover your taxes and replace all the benefits that come along with working, you can just go ahead and quit right there. Put in your 2 weeks, you're golden. The second best option is having a strong support network. If your parents are willing to support you while you transition to being a full-time content creator, you sort of get a blank check. Your parents are like, oh yeah, you can live with us, and we'll give you a place to live, we'll feed you, whatever. Just go for your passion. That would be awesome. Or if you have a girlfriend or a wife or husband, boyfriend, whatever, that is willing to support you while you get everything set up, that's also a pretty good option. And then what I would consider the worst option is taking on debt in order to do this. And it's like any business. You can get a business loan, you can go out, you can buy equipment, you can get studio space, whatever. That's going to cost money. This is a really hard one to recommend, but if you are dead set on doing this and you're just willing to jump in with both feet, maybe you can make it work. No guarantees in life, but if like any business, it's a risk. If you're willing to take that risk, maybe you can make it work. And then we have the business loan, which is a pretty tough one to get, probably for content creation. You go to the bank, you're like, I'm going to put together a whatever channel. I can expect this many viewers. I can expect this much revenue per month, whatever. You want to put together a business plan? Maybe that'll work. Personal loan, that's a little more straightforward. You go to the bank, say, I need $20,000 for myself to do something, higher interest. And then finally, credit cards, we're talking like 20% interest, possibly, like pretty high. Hey, Platforming Pangolins here. Good morning. Another content creator who can hopefully benefit from this information. Again, if you've missed the first part of this, it'll all be available in the VOD or on YouTube. And I will be going over this again, probably in a couple of months, with some additions and tweaks. So look forward to that. Discount Engineer makes a great point here. Without a viewer base already established, I don't think I could ever recommend taking on debt. Yeah, I don't recommend it, but I'm saying it is an option if that is something you are dead set on doing. So this is a hard one. Replacing workplace benefits. You might not realize it, but just having a job, you get a lot of benefits, even if you don't get anything fancy. So most jobs are going to offer you some amount of life insurance being insurance that pays out in the event of your death. Obviously, you don't benefit from that, but your family could benefit from that. So just that's a benefit for your family or your loved ones, whatever. Health coverage, again, sad USA noises. Full-time jobs are required to provide health insurance to their employees in most cases. And then also unemployment insurance. So when you work at a place, they pay unemployment insurance, and if they fire you for any reason that is not like gross misconduct, basically, they have to pay unemployment, or the government will pay the unemployment that has been paid into by your former employer. Also, most places will offer some kind of retirement plan, whether that's a 401k, 503b, 503c, whichever one, the TSP for the government, basically it varies. And then maybe even some places still will give you a defined benefits pension plan, which would be super cool. Pangolin says, I've never worked a job where I had health insurance. It was only an option once, and another time I was automatically given burial insurance. That is surprising, Pangolin, because at this point, the law is basically any employer above a certain size has to offer health insurance to the employees. And yeah, the sad USA noises, that's what it's all about. And finally, this is one you probably won't even realize, is that your employer covers like paying your taxes, basically. They take out the money for FICA, they take out the federal income tax, they take out the state income tax, and that all gets sent up the chain to the IRS, and you don't have to worry about it until it comes time to file your return. So when you're filing a return, you're not paying taxes, you're just saying, hey, IRS, I made this much money and I paid this much money. Is that good? And the IRS is going to be like, yes, and also you paid us too much, so here's some money. Or they're going to say, no, you owe us this much money. Obviously, they know how much you should be paying. It's a whole like 3-ring circus act as to why it is the way that it is, but we're not going to get into that right now. But the point is, your employer covers all that stuff for you. And when you're self-employed, when you're going full-time as a content creator, you have to handle all of that yourself. And typically that's going to include paying quarterly estimates of your income tax. And we'll get into how to handle this stuff in a little bit later in the presentation. Just something to keep in mind as you look to jump into full-time content creation. And yeah, Alien's right. It's a lot of work. It's because now you're basically managing a business when you're doing full-time content creation. And this was a slide that someone asked me to put in that I was talking to, another content creator. And that is work-life balance. So when you're at work, assuming you don't work from home and have weird hours, typically you have a I'm at work portion of your day and an I'm at home portion of my day. And it's pretty easy to balance that. I mean, not always for everybody, but it's a lot more delineated. So if you're doing full-time content creation, you have to sort of create that delineation for yourself. So if you work from home and you use the same computer that you use for everything else, like you go from streaming on Twitch to, okay guys, I'm done streaming, you're still in front of your computer or whatever, you just go watch YouTube videos. Do that on the stream, you'll make plenty of money. Versus having a separate studio area. This could be a separate building, this could be a separate room in your house. It's like, this is my work area versus this is my home area. And that's a way to create a little bit of a delineation between work and home. Scheduling work time, that's sort of an important thing. Like, I'm gonna spend 4 hours editing, then I'm gonna, you know, have 2 hours off, and then I need to do like 5 hours of streaming later tonight. Or I need to do an hour of art prep for my upcoming stream. I need to get all my supplies together. Just depending on what you do. I can't cover every situation, obviously. But you need to schedule these things out. You need to have some kind of system in place. Even if that system is, I stream when I feel like it until I get bored and then I go take a nap. And then downtime, you may not think that you need it. You may be one of those high-speed individuals who's like, I'm going to stream 12 hours a day, every day. I never need downtime. You probably do. You might need a day off. You might need a weekend off. You might need a week off. And you do not want to get burnt out if this is your full-time job. So just like take some time off, schedule it out, let everybody know, like, hey guys, I'm not going to be streaming next week. I'm going on a cruise or whatever. And then finally, managing your productivity. This kind of all goes together with everything. This is your job now. And you need to be your boss and kick your own butt and say, I need to get this stuff done before I can take a break. And that's just something you're going to have to learn how to do. Pangolin is mentioning the health insurance thing, as well as not having the option of a separate space. And that is, again, you don't have to have a separate space necessarily, but having little statues to mark off your work area when you're working. It serves as a visual marker. This is work time for me and everybody else. And that's perfect. So if you have a shared living space, especially you have kids, you have a nosy husband, whatever, you need to establish a certain situation in which this is my workspace, this is my work time. An alien coming in with an anecdote here. I burned myself out when I started. I had to rearrange a few times before I found a good balance. And that is important. And that's even more important when this is your only job. And now you have to rely on yourself to handle all of this stuff. Now we get to talk about growing your business, not growing your content creation, not growing your viewer count, but your business. Because if you are a full-time content creator, you are now running a business. And you need to learn how to do that or find someone who can help you do it however you feel most comfortable with it. And let's talk about hiring. So when you first get started, typically it's just going to be you and maybe like a moderator or whatever. On Twitch, probably a moderator. On YouTube, it's just you. You got a camera set up, you write a script, you make the video, boom. You edit it yourself, you're done. As you get bigger, you will find that in order to maintain a certain level of quality, in order to maintain a certain level of quantity, you may have to bring in outside help. And that's where partners, employees, and contractors come into play. So what is the difference? A partner is someone that you bring in to basically be a co-owner of the business. So you can go from, I'll use Possibly an Alien as an example. So I am Possibly an Alien, and I do Twitch streaming. And then now we say, okay, I'm Possibly an Alien. I want to bring in Actually an Alien, and we're going to stream together. We're going to have like a group stream setup. And also we're going to kind of split responsibility. Possibly an Alien is going to make art, and Actually an Alien is going to take the art, digitize it, put it onto a t-shirt and sell it, and you guys are going to split the profits. You guys work together as partners. An employee is someone that you hire directly to work for you, so you are their boss, and they are going to perform a specific function as dictated by you. So you're going to say, I need someone to edit my videos. It's like 4 hours a day. I'm going to send you the content, and you are going to edit it to my specifications. And then you're going to send it back to me, and I'm going to upload it to my YouTube channel. With employees, there's a whole lot of legal protections that come into play. Although you would be considered a small business below a certain amount, so you can get away with a lot more. And then contractors that's basically everybody. You go on Fiverr, you pay someone to make you a logo, that's a contractor. You commission some art to put on a t-shirt, that's a contractor. This is someone you pay once, they do a thing for you, they send it back, or they perform the service, they're done, that's it. There's no like ongoing relationship there. And that's the honest reality. Unless you are so great at everything, you can make your own logo, you can do all your own video editing, you can write the script, you can shoot everything yourself, you can stream for 8 hours a day and then still have time to edit the stream down to highlights and post them to TikTok. You're probably gonna want to get a team together. And then when I say what kind of help, editing, acting, writing, acting is actually an interesting one, because if you're shooting YouTube videos, for example, you might have to hire actors to actually be in the videos. Not everyone, like, it's cool to have your friends in your video, but as soon as you realize, wait, my friends aren't like good actors, I wanted to make actual like dramatic content, then you have to, pay people to come act in your videos. Pangolin says, sometimes your friends should never be your employees or your employer. Seen it burn out some friendships over the years. Exactly. That's sort of a situation where maybe you guys want to be partners if they are interested and they have the talent for it. Or maybe just contractors, like, hey, friend, how much would it take for you to make like a cool piece of art for my logo? Just kind of keep it either an equal partnership or a like one-time transaction. But yeah, I would not go for the employee-employer relationship with friends. That is, find someone you don't know at all, like put out a help wanted ad, whatever, like wanted someone to edit my Twitch streams down to YouTube videos, paying, I don't know, like $30,000 a year if you can afford that. And then finally, managing your team. At this point, where you're basically running a business, what is your role in that business? Are you the talent? Are you the artist? Are you the editor? Are you just the manager at this point? That is, you have to determine that for yourself. It's whatever you're good at, whatever your thing is, that's what you need to focus on. All right, let me take some water here. Ooh, we're coming into the home stretch, chat. We got about 10 slides left. No, the 5 slides left. But the last ones are going to get a little more in depth. Working with professionals. This is people who are not related to your business directly. And I picked 3 examples: accountants, advisors, and lawyers, because those are the 3 you're probably going to be working with the most. Accountants can help you with tax preparation. That's going to be your CPA, your tax accountant. And then there is the type of accountant that I specifically am, although I probably could help you with your tax prep if you really needed me to. And that's going to be the bookkeeper. And these are going to sort of manage your income, manage your expenses. They're going to make sure everything is going to the right place. Things aren't getting weird, like nobody's stealing from you. And that becomes even more important because that information then goes into the tax prep. Next up is advisors. So financial planning, that's kind of what we're doing right now. That's someone you can sit down with. They can help you set up a financial plan, look at your finances as they are. You can tell them about what your plans are, and they can help you devise a way to get there. And then business advising is a little more on the business side of things. They can say, okay, your current business is you make YouTube videos, you put them on YouTube, you get 1 million views per video. That brings in $1,000 per video from ad revenue. And then also, you got sponsored by Raid Shadow Legend and they gave you $5,000 or whatever. Like, how can you expand the business? How can you keep the business growing? How can you refocus the business to focus on a specific demographic? That can be marketing advice. It's very general level, like high level business stuff, but that's something that they can help you with. Next up are lawyers. This is gonna get, when you get big, if you get big, things will get weird. And that is where you need to go, hey lawyer, so I've been a sole proprietor for 2 years now, but I'm starting to make a lot more money than I was expecting, and I think maybe I want to form an LLC so I can start reducing some of my liability on my content or whatever. And then of course you've got stuff like copyright, because your content is copyright, but so is other people's content. And it gets very sticky, it gets messy. You want to have somebody you can go like, hey, if we do this, are we protected? Or if somebody is, stealing our content and re-uploading it somewhere else, can we do anything about that? And that's something that a lawyer can help you with. And then of course, business law, that sort of incorporates both of these. Like, no, you cannot hire 12-year-olds to do your work for you and then pay them peanuts. Looking at you, Starbound devs. Like, no, you have to hire people, you have to pay payroll taxes, yada, yada, yada. That's the business law side of things. And so this is, again, not going to be a huge issue until you get to a certain size, I would think. But again, now things are getting more complicated for you. You need to start leaning on professionals a little bit more. And yes, again, Pangolin brings up a good point. Lawyers can handle people who file false copyright complaints. So that, again, the copyright lawyer portion of this, if someone's like, hey, you're using my content, like, no, I'm not, I made this, you stole it and then re-uploaded it to some kind of identification system, and now it looks like you own it, even though we have the, again, sticky, nasty, you don't want to deal with that on your own. Rilip says, in my day, we just gave the 12-year-old moldy biscuits and they were happy for it. Yeah, well, they were just lucky they didn't get their arm chopped off in the whatever machine working in the factory. So, and then this is just another thing to keep in mind, expanding to other platforms. If you're a Twitch streamer, you probably already upload to YouTube in some capacity, maybe TikTok. If you have gotten started on another platform, you got started on TikTok, you're like, I want to, I'm making these 2-minute long sketches. Maybe I can expand this into some kind of long form content on YouTube. Or you just say, hey, if you guys like my comedy here on TikTok, check me out on Twitch where we play The Last of Us all the time. And that's the only game we play for whatever reason. Just growth is important in any industry, but one of the things you'll find as a content creator is if you're not growing, you are dying. So the internet is constantly changing. New people start watching, old people stop watching for whatever reason. You can't control it. Moving to other platforms increases your visibility and also spreads out your liabilities. So if TikTok all of a sudden says, hey, you know, we're reducing our creator fund by 20%, that cuts into your revenue on TikTok. But if you already have a fallback on Twitch, on YouTube, you can say, that's fine. It's okay if I lose out on this one platform because I have 2 other platforms I can lean on to kind of make up the difference. You can also find new audiences. Like Facebook has a streaming thing, but Facebook is on the way out. I think most of us can see that. A lot of people tend to agree. So if you are a Facebook streamer, whatever that even entails, you're only going to get the Facebook audience, the Karens and the old men who yell at clouds, that kind of stuff. And the same way, like if you only stream on YouTube, you're not getting access to the Twitch audience. If you stream on TikTok, which apparently, yes, is a thing, you're not getting any of the other audiences, because I don't even know how you find people on TikTok to watch live. So people are in their little bubbles, and they don't tend to come out of those bubbles unless they somehow catch a glimpse of you from across the room, and they're like, oh, that guy's cool. Where does he normally do his stuff? And then they come over to your Twitch channel, or they come to your YouTube channel, whatever. And diversifying your content. I mentioned this a little earlier. If you make short form content for TikTok, maybe you want to branch out into making video essays about your favorite 90s game. And yes, Pangolin, you can stream on TikTok. It is a thing. It's called TikTok Live. And I can't vouch for its effectiveness, but it does exist. So another something to think about. And now we're just going to talk about a little bit on saving and investing. This is important for everyone, so I saved it for the last couple of slides here. So saving. This is important for everyone, but for content creators, it's especially important, especially if you're trying to sort of buoy your finances when you first start doing your full-time streaming situation. So the first thing you want to do when you're saving is create what is called an emergency fund. And this is I lost my job and our house burned down. I need money to survive for the next 6 to 12 months. So in the US especially, this is going to be a sizable amount of money, like tens of thousands of dollars set aside. And this money just sits there in a savings account somewhere. A step up from that, actually, let me talk. Okay, 6 to 12 months. What do I mean by that? That is partially on your risk tolerance. If you say, oh, you know, if I don't anticipate that I'm going to be without any kind of income for more than 6 months. There's no way. If you're like, you know, I don't know what could happen. Like an asteroid could strike the Earth tomorrow. I need to have a year's worth of funds saved up. Although if the asteroid hits, your money's worthless anyway. So good luck. But that is, that's on your risk tolerance. We didn't really talk about risk tolerance. Basically what that is how much are you willing to accept? How much bad are you willing to accept before you're like, nope, I'm done. And that's just basically what it is. And Rilip says, given most people in the US have less than $400 in savings, you'll be set up well. Yeah. I know it's tough. I know it's hard to like get out of that cycle of not having money in your savings account, but it is absolutely vital if you want to be able to like branch out beyond the bare necessities. And then on to short-term savings, that's a step up. These are things where you have set aside a specific amount of money for something specific. You say, I need $2,000 so I can upgrade my lighting, new green screen, better sound equipment, new camera, whatever. That's just an example. It could be anything. Same for equipment. Like I need a new PC, so I'll set aside a $1,500 amount of money in order to get that. And when I say short-term savings, in the accounting world, short-term is a year or less, and anything over a year is considered long-term. So that's sort of how we're going to be using that. Next up, we have the also there's vacation on there. That some people are like super into vacations, so I put that on here. I'm not a big vacation guy, but you'll notice that some families will be like, yeah, we're saving up for our Caribbean cruise this year, so they put $3,000 away in short-term savings throughout the year, and then they take it out to spend on the cruise. I don't know. I've never been on a cruise. It sounds fun though. Next up is the long-term savings. So if you're like, I want to buy studio space, I want to rent studio space, I want to build a renovation to my house that is a new studio for me to stream, I want to renovate the current room I'm in, I want to put soundproofing in and like a built-in green screen, whatever. That could be a long-term goal. You could say, I need $10,000 set aside. Vehicles is another good example. Instead of paying a high-interest loan for a car, maybe you could save up 12 grand and buy a used thing. And then property, this is a bit of a tougher one because property prices are always in like a crazy amount of flux. So it's hard to say, I want to set aside $500,000 to buy a house, because by the time you have the $500,000, the house could be worth $1 million, and now you need another 500 grand. But maybe smaller property that could work out, depending on where you live too. But just some examples of things you might be saving for. And then investing. Investing is a very, very important part of personal finance because it is a hedge against inflation and can also provide an amount of income for you as you grow older, as you can't work as much for whatever reason. So my focus when I'm putting together a financial plan is, how are you going to handle a loss of income from ceasing to work altogether? And so I've actually put two portions of that here. So planning for your retirement from content creation. If you get to a point where you're just like totally burnt out and you're like, I can't make YouTube videos anymore, it's the community's too toxic, I'm not growing, I'm not seeing the amount of money that I want to be making, and then you retire from that and you go back to something else. You go back to the workforce, you, I don't know, join a convent, whatever. You want to plan for that first retirement, and then the retirement from working altogether, which would be like you hit 66 or whatever the new number is, the age you got to get to. And both of those are, assuming they don't have the same date, they're going to have different requirements. And we're not going to go super into it, but just, again, something to keep in mind. I will be putting together presentations for all of these individual segments separately that go a lot more in depth. This was just designed to be an overview. And I mentioned this before, but I consider investing to be enhanced savings. It's savings plus. You have, savings where you're getting 0.04% interest from the bank in your savings account versus, I bought, a S&P 500 index fund and it went up 20% over the last year. And now I can cash in some of that and reinvest it or keep the money or whatever. It's basically a way to make money on the money you've already made and also hedge against inflation. Hedge here meaning protect against inflation. Inflation, if you don't know, is when your money becomes worth less, not worthless, but worth less over time because the total supply of money in the economy increases. And that is a natural thing. People will rail against it. People will say, we need to have a deflationary economy. That creates its own host of problems. We're not going to get into economics right now. Just understand your money will tend to be worth less the longer you have it. And Rilip says, to wit on Savings Plus, it should be done after your savings. Yes, the investing portion of this is after savings. So first do the saving, then do the investing. So do not put your emergency fund in Bitcoin. Don't even put your short-term and long-term savings in Bitcoin. Take money that is above and beyond what you need to have saved up and then invest that. And then finally, very important, and it's becoming more and more prevalent. I mean, I would hope that the people watching this are a little more like savvy about the internet and you know how to avoid these things. But you can get your whole savings, your whole investings wiped out by a scam if you fall for it. So again, I'm not going to go in depth on how to avoid scams. Remember, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. If you're not comfortable with what you think the person is offering, don't go for it. Talk to someone else, get a second opinion. But don't buy cryptocurrency, don't buy NFTs unless you have the money to throw away. Don't expect everything you buy to appreciate in value ever. That includes stocks, bonds, mutual funds, whatever. But that is why we only invest money that we have above and beyond our savings. And Pangolin has a question here. If someone else gives you an investment, should you keep it in that form or cash it out to build your savings? That depends on where you're at. If you are still trying to build your emergency fund, then maybe it would be a good idea to cash it out and add that to your emergency fund. If it's just like an individual stock, maybe it's like, oh, here's a share of Apple that I bought back in 1992 or whatever. Maybe hold on to it because that's kind of cool. Like that has a cool sentimental story. And honestly, how much is a share of Apple worth? Like it might not be worth actually cashing in. So one share of Apple's worth $140. I would probably just hold on to it. Like it's cool that you have a share of Apple. If someone's like, hey, here's $6,000 in, I don't know, Microsoft stock or whatever, maybe then, yeah, you want to cash that one out. I'd be surprised if someone gifted you a stock or a bond or something. Maybe not a bond. That's kind of a typical, like a savings bond. That would be something like a grandma gets you for your birthday or whatever. And that's basically the end of the presentation. If anybody has any additional questions, I'll be sticking around for a while. We'll quickly go back through the slides if anybody wants to take another look at them. If you have anything that you would like to see on this presentation, this is a version 1 of the presentation. I'm going to be adding to it, tweaking it, changing it over the next couple of weeks, and I would eventually like to take this and create a actual prepared form of it that is going to be edited for YouTube. So if you're watching this on YouTube, this was from a live stream, a little more free form. There will eventually be an actual created version, an edited version that'll be uploaded separately, and it'll be much more straightforward. It'll go a little more in depth, and I'll probably add some pictures to these slides as well. Needs more emotes, huh? We'll see about that. And Pangolin also, another point about Apple, it's a sturdy company. Like, okay, here's a share of GM, here's a share of GE, here's a share of Boeing, whatever. That could just be fun to have. Did I talk about not doing work for other people for free just because they're your friend's family? I didn't specify that. That's not really something that would come up typically, but that is a good point. Maybe do work for them if, you're friends with them and they want you to do one thing for them. Like, hey, do you want to come on my YouTube channel and like do a skit with me? Obviously don't do ongoing work for free for no good reason. But I don't think it's good advice necessarily to just say never do work for your friends ever. I also didn't talk about doing things for exposure. Again, this is when I speak content creation, I'm typically talking about you're making Twitch streams or YouTube videos or TikToks or whatever. If you're like an artist online, that is a sort of a form of content creation, I guess. then yeah, don't do things for exposure unless the exposure is really big. This isn't free, says Rilip. It's $50 a head. You can PayPal Rilip the fee right now. Send it to Rilip3 at whatever. And yes, paying exposure does have value. Like, if someone says, hey, just do this for me for free, and I can't pay you, but I'll do, you know, people will see it and then I'll give you credit. Get some more information, because a legitimate person doing that will have more information to back that up. They'll be like, oh yeah, you know, we work with other creators and then we feature their art on our homepage, and we drive traffic to their whatever. I mean, that already sounds kind of scammy and skeevy to me, but you need to weigh the benefits, the cost benefits yourself. Like, maybe you retain the right to the art and they're just showing it off, whatever. I can't really give too much insight on the art world, or the that's a little beyond my my knowledge base. And yes, Rilip makes a good point. You can't pay your rent and exposure, but if you have the extra time, if you've already got your bills covered, you're not like scrounging for every dollar you can get. There's nothing wrong with putting something free out there to get dividends later. Pangolin knows a lot of artists. They all get a lot of, can you design thing for me? They want it for free because you're my friend. I would never ask anyone to do something for free. I would be like, hey, how much would it cost for you to do X for me? And if they're like, oh, I'll do that for free, that's easy, I'll just slap it together for you. Cool. I'm not gonna like insist that I pay them if it really is that low effort on their part, whatever. But if they're like, okay, you know, it's I'll do like a logo for you, like $30. Does that sound fair? Sure, whatever. So first of all, don't do things for free just because you're someone's friend. But also don't ask people to do things for free. Like, ask for a quote first. Just be polite. Don't put them on the spot. So that's just general life advice, I think. So again, the limitations and caveats of this were, this is financial advice. I did not give any asset suggestions. That we were limited to my American knowledge base, but again, this is all general good stuff, and I did not help you grow your channel. I can't even grow my own channel. There's no way I can help you grow yours. Sorry to tell you. All right, Rilip wants to know how much it would cost for me to send him $1 million. He will pay me in exposure. Will you pay me in $1 million worth of exposure? Because I mean, if it was as easy as I send you $1 million, you send 20,000 viewers my way and they're guaranteed to watch me for the next 10 years, then I would 100% pay $1 million for that. Let's see. Ooh, okay. If I scroll, it scrolls, but I don't necessarily want it to scroll. Let's see. Managing your income and expenses, tracking your spending, earning, advertisements, sponsorships, direct contributions, merchandise, taxes, and potential pitfalls. Rilip has coin if you have exposure. I think Rilip says he has exposure if I have coin. That's the problem. So for example, if I was like, hey, Urban Venture, how much would it cost for you to edit this video for me? And he's like $500 or 600 pounds or whatever. I'd be like, whoa, no thanks. But, you know, at least we got that out there. Let's see, replacing workplace benefits. We talked about work-life balance. We talked a little bit about, and hey, Urban, hiring contractors and employees. This is, yeah, so this is the growing your business part. Basically everything up to the entire going full-time section is applicable to any content creator. So just things to keep in mind when you maybe decide to go full-time. I don't know how much information you guys want out of me. I did the whole presentation. That's it. That's all there is. Uh-oh. Rilip's gonna expose himself live on stream, chat. Check that out later today at Twitch TV /Rilip3. Hang on. What is it? Twitch.tv/Rilip3. Check out the exposure. It's going to be great. He's going to get banned from Twitch, but it's going to be so worth it. Although, that one streamer who had sex live on stream only got banned for 7 days, so maybe he would be fine. Yeah, there's the shout out for Rilip. He streams KSP live on stream, and also will give you exposure. So, before we wrap it up for the day, I know that was only about an hour and a half of actual content. Does anybody that has any questions? If you've got anything you'd like to add, you can type it out in the chat, or you can send it to me on Discord, or you can put it in the YouTube comments if you're on YouTube. Okay, Pangolin has a good question. At what point do you need to hire a bookkeeper? So, that is a good question. It kind of depends on your tolerance for doing the bookkeeping. If you're just getting money from Twitch, getting money from YouTube, you don't really need to keep track of that in a separate account. You don't need to do the accounting. It goes into your bank account and you pay the taxes on it at the end of the year or quarterly. And it more kind of goes hand in hand with having someone do your taxes. And typically you'll be able to find someone who can do both for you, and you just pay them, a certain amount, and they'll be like, yeah, I'll handle, all your tax stuff, and I'll also keep track of your finances, whatever, as like a hand in hand situation. But bookkeeping is very easy. Anyone can learn to do it. You don't need a college degree or anything. It's just keeping track of where all the money's going, all the expenses, all the income, and making sure that everything is where it's supposed to be. And that's basically what I do every day as an accountant. So maybe I'm speaking from a position where I do it every day. I'm used to it. As a lay person, you might not have that level of familiarity with it, so maybe I'm blinded by my own knowledge. But really, it makes a good point. When you can no longer handle it, that's when you want to bring in someone to do it. Same with editing, same with all the other stuff. Like, if you are focused on what you are good at, and you can no longer handle the other things that you might need to do, and you can focus on what you're good at, that's when you bring on someone else to help you. And Pangolin says, Twitch does let you export a ton of bookkeeping stuff. Yes. If you're at the point where you are making actual dollars, actual pounds, actual whatever from Twitch, you can start exporting that, and it'll go right into probably QuickBooks or another accounting piece of software, and it'll all load in there, and you just have to arrange it however that's set up. So it's not super hard. Plus, they have to send you a form at the end of the year with all of your earnings. I don't know about YouTube, but I'm sure YouTube has a similar situation. Not so much on TikTok or Instagram or Facebook. I don't know about that. You need to have Microsoft spreadsheet set up for that export. It's like $9 a month. Oh, for Excel? Yeah, you can also, it might also work with Open Office, which has a Excel type program. Google Sheets. Yeah, Google Sheets. I'm actually using Google Slides for this slideshow presentation. And Google does have the free, basically Microsoft Office, but Google version of all the programs. And it's all in the cloud, so you don't have to worry about saving it down anywhere necessarily. Does anybody have any extra stuff that they would like to see specifically? Any extra slides? Maybe I just totally overlooked a specific thing to talk about. I know Pangolins, you said... What did you say earlier? Oh geez, it's so far back up there. Oh yeah, not doing things for free. Maybe put that in potential pitfalls. Doing things for free, and I'll maybe expand on that a little more. Which is export does not work well with OpenOffice. You already tried it. Exports the info, but it all gets lumped together. It might export. Does it? Do you know what kind of file type it exports as? Is it an Excel file or is it a CSV or something? I guess I can look. I have Twitch. It's right here. Settings. No. Affiliate. All right. I have no idea where this would be. It's not even something I considered, but I'm sure it's somewhere around there. We'll think about it. Something to look into. Does your platform have a way to easily get financial information out of it? Go to Insights, she says. Okay. We'll take a look. Insights. Is this finance stuff? Because this mostly is just like viewers and everything. It's probably channel analytics. Blah, blah, blah. View my payouts. Where do my views come from? Just random people, apparently. Has an export option on the Insights page. All right. Well, there you go. Something to think about. Again, most of this presentation, these are things to think about, things to consider, and things to follow up on later as you start like more seriously considering how you want to approach content creation. So again, I will be doing a redux of this. We'll be doing a more edited version. It's more produced for YouTube. I will also be working on some additional presentations that go more in depth on these various sections. So, you know, if anybody has questions on the specifics of breaking out tracking your spending, I can show some actual examples, show it in a spreadsheet, that kind of stuff. Pangolin says, this is my only job besides parenting. Well, there you go. This is, Pangolin thinks content creation will save her from the perils of parenting, perhaps. Anyway, chat, it's been an hour and a half. I feel like I've exhausted the presentation as much as I can. Again, finally, you can find me here on Twitch. You can find me on YouTube. You can watch my stuff. Check out all this, all my other awesome VODs that exist. There are some pretty funny ones out there. And I will hopefully see you in the future. But that's all I have for you today. So thanks everybody for coming out this morning. And I'm going to go now. Bye.